Well, hello again, everyone. Music is a journey. I'm Peter Scove, and today I'm joining another thread. It seems I don't really get my own videos done recently because there are lots of these threads going around. In fact, a couple of weeks ago, I think there were 3 of them, and at that time I thought, I want to get back to my regular programming schedule. However, they're just a little bit too irresistible, especially when you see other people joining and what they are showing, and then I start getting ideas, and then I have to participate as well. So this thread actually came out, I think it was about 2 weeks or so ago. It was Vinyl Ritchie, linked to his original video in the description. He started a thread about 10 songs about drinking, and we're talking about alcohol here, not milkshakes. And he got his idea from another video, which I haven't seen, which was actually, I think, not related to drinking songs specifically, but he was inspired to create his thread from that video. So if you go to Vinyl Ritchie's video, he will mention that video, and probably there's the link in the description of his video for that original one. At the time, I thought I'm not really going to get into it, but couple of days ago I saw Jeff at Jeff's Rock Hard Vinyl do his, and I started getting ideas, and then last night I started shuffling around some CDs to put them away, and during that time I took a quick peek at YouTube and saw Brian at Embryonic do his video for it, and I thought, no, okay, that's it, I'm doing it. So here we go. Alright, 10 songs related to drinking alcohol. So the first one that came to my mind when Jeff was doing his video and he mentioned whiskey, I immediately thought of Whiskey Drinkin' Woman from Nazareth's Hair of the Dog album. That whiskey drinking woman is making a poor man out of me. Yeah, so a song about a woman who just can't lay off the bottle. So that's the first one. Next up, a song that is all about drinking really hard and racing around, crashing cars. This is the song Trashed, the lead track off the Born Again album, Black Sabbath, with Ian Gillan on vocals. And this was based on exactly a true story. When Black Sabbath convened at Richard Branson's mansion to begin rehearsing for the album they were going to do together with Ian Gillan, Richard Branson bought each of the 4 members a new car, and a rather expensive one. And then they got this brilliant idea to race the car around in front of the mansion. I don't know, they had some track or maybe there was a racetrack, I forget. But after drinking a lot, and Ian Gillan, as far as I understand, he was, at least was anyway, I don't know if he is now, but he was a pretty big drinker back then. So yeah, he was pounding back the whiskey and the tequila, and he was racing the car around. And actually he lost control and flipped off the track and nearly killed himself. Miracle he survived. And that is the inspiration for the song, where he sings, "Oh, Mr. Miracle, you saved me from some pain. I thank you, Mr. Miracle. I won't get trashed again." And then, of course, he does. Yeah, so that's that. Trashed by Black Sabbath. And then we go to North Vancouver for Spirit of the West, their second full-length album and their first on a non-independent label anyway. And there's a track on here called The Crawl, which is about a pub crawl. It was their first annual crawl, going from the Troller, which is a pub in Horseshoe Bay on the far west side of West Vancouver, and going all the way with several stops along the way to the Raven in Deep Cove, which is located on the east side of North Vancouver. So going from West Vancouver across to North Vancouver. And the chorus goes, "We're good old boys, we come from the North Shore, drinkers and carousers, the likes you've never seen, and this night, by God, we drank till there was no more, from the Troller to the Raven, with all stops in between." And at the end, they arrive at the Raven just in time for the last call, the final destination on this first annual crawl. "We dug deep into our pockets, there was no money to be found, 9 miles home, and for walking we are bound." Anyway, great fun drinking song. I mentioned this in a video earlier this year, and a video about place names around Vancouver being mentioned. So that's Spirit of the West and The Crawl. I think this album, Tripping Up the Stairs, goes back to 1986. Okay. Brian at Embryonic Robot, by the way, mentioned a song called Drinking Man from the next album. However, it was the album after that that has their most famous drinking song, Home for a Rest, which is definitely one to check out if you love fast-paced Irish, Celtic, Scottish type music with lots of jigs with flute and everything. It's a ripper. Okay, so next we go to Kelowna, British Columbia, a band called Terrifier, who are a thrash metal band. I think they've had 3 albums out now, but last I recall, the latest album was a download only or something heinous like that. But anyway, this is their second album called Weapons of Thrash Destruction, and there is a song on here called DAF, which stands for Drunk as... And it is exactly that, just about getting totally ripped on drinking alcohol. A very fun song, and among some of the great memorable tracks on this album, it is one of the standout ones, I think, simply because of the nature of the song and the delivery. Okay, we go over to Alberta, and there was a power metal band called Vinyl. They released 2 albums in, I think, the 2010s, and the last I spoke to one of the members, he said that, and this was about 3 years ago, he said there was hopes to do a 3rd album, but at the time there wasn't really anything happening. But anyway, their second album called, I think it's called Sinister, by Vinyl, there's a song on here called 3 Sheets to the Wind. Now, it does have that drinking song feeling. It is also my favorite track off the album, but this album also has this power metal boldness to it, like this striking out to adventure, and yeah, the feeling of the song could actually also have that feeling of 3 sheets to the wind, like 3 sails of the ship are open to the wind and we are off for some great adventure. But perhaps that's also the origin of the term 3 sheets to the wind for being drunk, because you think you are heading off to some great adventure, you're full of Dutch courage. And, you know, actually it's just because you've had too many wobbly pops. Okay, or other. So this one here, I just picked this up earlier this year. This is a band called Blackguard, and what are they called here? Profugus Mortis. That was actually the band's original name. However, for their first, I guess, major release, they changed their name to Blackguard and named the album after their original name. And there is a song on here. It is called This Rounds on Me. And this is also one of those rousing power metal types, but in this case with more of a death metal style vocal. And this seems to be kind of a popular thing in the mid-2000s in Canada. We had this marriage of death metal vocal styles with the boldness and sing-along feeling of power metal. So this is a band, Blackguard, This Rounds on Me. And the reason why I have this actually is because the drummer on here, I've forgotten her name now. Anyway, the drummer on here is also the drummer for a symphonic melodic death metal band from Montreal called Carchaos. And when I found out that she had previously played with Blackguard and I had previously been interested in this album, I got it. But anyway, This Rounds on Me. And there's actually a picture inside the album of them all sitting at a table with bottles out, having a good time. Next up, this is the Misunderstood Golden Glass. I've talked about them before. In fact, the Misunderstood story is rather a thick one. So we will not get into that in great detail now, but basically they were a band from California who went off to London. Their singer got drafted and the band had to split up, and the singer escaped being drafted and went off to India. Then later the record label in the UK wanted to give the band another shot, so one of the original members, I think 2 of the original members, got together with 2 new people and went in the studio to record an album which was called Golden Glass, which was essentially a blues album. But they have one psychedelic track on here which was just off the cuff, like in the studio they said, give us something, a psychedelic track, and so they just made up something on the spot. And the singer was rather peed off about the way things were going with the recording sessions, and he had a glass of whiskey in front of him, and so he just looked at that glass and began singing Golden Glass. And it's actually played with lap steel guitar and electric guitar, but it is very heavy and a really I guess to say early doom metal type riff. But yeah, off the cuff, on the spot, recorded, and it's just staring at this glass of whiskey and talking about how this glass of whiskey, I think, is gonna somehow take him away from the misery. Okay, now next up, this is a song called Lord of Misrule from an album of the same title by Blood Ceremony, more of a late 60s, early 70s stoner rock, psychedelic rock band from Ontario with a lead vocalist who also plays flute and keyboards. And the story of Lord of Misrule is from some old custom in the rural parts of Great Britain somewhere, where they would have this festival for 30 days. Somebody would be the Lord of Misrule, and for 30 days it was just a big like feast and drinking piss up type thing. And at the end of the 30 days, the Lord of Misrule would be sacrificed. So yeah, that's the story, and that's what they based that song on. So yeah, again, kind of big drinking party with unfortunate consequences for the elected person behind the whole thing. All right. Then I couldn't help but thinking, when I was thinking, how about some songs about wine? And the first one that came to my mind was, well, actually Wine, Women and Song by Whitesnake. I think I have the album back here somewhere. But I also thought of Me and My Wine, Def Leppard, the final track off the High and Dry album. So Me and My Wine, I haven't listened to it for quite some time. I just remember, just me and my wine, or whatever like that. So had to mention a wine song. Would you like a little cheese with that wine? And finally, this one struck me last night. I thought it was very interesting. I want to talk about it because it has a cultural, cultural background to it. So this is an album by a Japanese singer named Maki Yano, and the song is called Otona to Kodomo, which is adult and child. This story, I haven't looked deeply into the lyrics, but just from what I've gathered from listening to the chorus, it's about a young woman who is under the age of 20. Now, the age of adulthood in Japan, I think up until recently it was considered 20. Everything was just 20. After 20, once you reach 20, you can drink, you can vote, you're considered an adult. However, recently they've made some changes, so you can actually vote from the age of 18, and I think they have also lowered the age of adulthood to 18, but still you have to be 20 or older to drink and smoke. Anyway, this album goes back to about 20 years ago. So at this time, 20 years old was still the age of adulthood. So in this story, in the story of the song, we can imagine there is a young woman who is under the age of 20, and just by the tone of her voice and how she's singing it, I feel she's probably more like 17, 18. And she is sitting, I guess, at some eating establishment with an older guy meaning he is over 20 or older, and I'm guessing because she's a singer, a musician, probably she's with somebody, you know, a band member or somebody in the recording industry some way or another, and he's older, so he might be 22, 23, whatever, and she has this big crush on him. But they're sitting together at this table in this restaurant or whatever, and the thing that really stands out for her is that he is drinking an alcoholic beverage while she is drinking a Fanta. And that just really drives the point home that he is an adult and she is still a child. Thus the title, Otona, adult, to kodomo, and child. And I really like her delivery in the song, like how that really affects her. Like here she is with the person she has a deep crush on, she's in love with this guy, and they're sitting together, and how wonderful that should actually be to have time together like this, but there's that wedge between them that is marked specifically by the drinks on the table. And later on, near the end of the song, she says, and this is kind of vague because of the way the Japanese language is, but she says, daisuki de, which is like, daisuki means I love, and we're missing basically love, but we're missing the object of the sentence, and Japanese can do that. I mean, she's saying I love, it could mean I love you, or I love this situation of us together, but it's vague like that because the object is missing in the sentence. So maybe Japanese listeners will know exactly what she's talking about. For me as non-Japanese, I feel there's that vagary. Is she talking about she loves him, or is she loves the situation? But what's important is what comes next. Daisuki de daikirai, which means I hate. So, could be that she loves the situation of being together with him, or that she loves him, but she hates this fact that he is an adult and she is, well, not that he is an adult, but she hates the fact that she is still a child, and maybe that is actually keeping the relationship from actually being able to develop. Not like there's any kind of law that an 18-year-old girl couldn't date a 23-year-old guy, there's nothing like that, but she feels it. I am a child, you're an adult. So I really liked how she uses the symbolism of the drinks. Osake, alcohol, to Fanta. She's drinking a Fanta. So I wanted to mention that because I thought that was really cool. And that is my 10 songs about drinking, or at least songs about alcohol anyway. So also, everybody else, please join in if you will. I'd love to see some more videos to see what other albums people show. I really enjoyed Jeff's Rock Hard Vinyl, I really enjoyed his selection, and Brian at Embryonic Robot, some great stuff he showed as well. Really cool to see what people have for this kind of a topic, as well as the men in suits or people in suits and, well, whatever. Anyway, thank you for watching. Hopefully see you in one of my own idea videos later on. Okay, everyone, take care and bye.